Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hello friends, welcome to this session on Yoga for Executives. So let's first understand these two words, Yoga and executive. So who is an executive? Generally, we think executive, very senior people. But in my opinion, everybody is executive because everyone is executing something or the other. But in modern times, when we think of an executive, then in my opinion, the main qualification is that this person is desk bound, that his or her activities are mostly on the table and mostly on computers, on mobiles these days, online, virtual world, and so on. So our occupation is primarily mental and in the knowledge domain, where our intellectual faculties are brought into play. So therefore, an executive, by an executive, it doesn't matter to me whether the executive is a manager or a general manager or a managing director, whatever is the position, whichever is the field, technical, non-technical, it doesn't matter. So long as a person is desk-bound, working in a limited space, doesn't have too much of physical activity, that person is an executive. And now about yoga. So yoga is that science which empowers us, which educates us about our own existence. So for example, today we have all kinds of degrees. We go for higher education, and in higher education, even specialization. So we have PhDs, we have DLiTs, and sometimes you go and there are 10 degrees or 20 degrees. But question is, have you got this degree where you were taught who you are? Can you tell us what is your own identity? Is this face your identity, or is your physical appearance your identity, or your identity is much deeper? Your speech gives out your identity. Your behaviors give out your identity. So what is making my behavior? What is making my speech? So that is all in the inner domain, what is called the inner engineering. So they are in the inner domain. We need to know what are my senses, how do my senses operate, what is my mind, what is my intellect, what is my this memory plane. In the yoga language, this is called chitta. So I'll be often using this word chitta. And in fact, I can recite you this verse that says, Yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sarirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjalanatosmi. So by yoga science, we are refining the chitta, the memory plane. We are refining our understandings. Then padena vacham, grammar. What is grammar? Grammar is measuring words. The Sanskrit grammar, very calculated, minimum words, and conveying a huge sense. So therefore, padena vacham. So if we have this Vyakaran proficiency, our speech will be very regulated. बहुत सदी होगी, huh? It will be very specifically directed. There will be no, loose talking. And then malam sharirasya cha vaidikena. So the mala, the waste in the body, which needs to be discarded. So if I have mal in the body, means I am suffering. So if I am suffering, I have diseases, then it is Vaidya. Who is a Vaidya? Who is knowledgeable in Ayurveda science. So therefore, Yoga and Ayurveda science go in parallel. Without one, the other is incomplete. So I say Ayurveda is the maintenance manual of the physical body health. And Yoga is the maintenance manual of the person in this body. So therefore, in Yoga, the first lesson we need to know that body, an owner of body, Sharir and Shariri. So just like a car and the driver. Without driver, car can do nothing. Without car, driver cannot take you anywhere. So the two are complementary of each other. So likewise, this body and me in this body, they are complementary. Without one, the other cannot do anything. The only thing is, body is called Jada. Jada means it doesn't have consciousness. And this consciousness, sometimes people mistake this when I say it doesn't have consciousness, because consciousness needs to be defined separately. So when I say Jada, Jada means it is not alive. It cannot function on its own. And then the Shariri is Chetan, is conscious. So the Shariri brings this physical body into life, and then the two together are working. So this is how we need to understand Yoga, and on that basis, then we will be able to go forward. So you as teachers who are dealing with students, college students, whichever, university students, you need to know the individual identity. Is this body doing the studying work, reading, writing, and thinking? Or is it the faculties which are not physical? The faculties are, we call them, they are subtle. So therefore, this physical body, subtle body, causal body. This is how we need to understand Yoga. You may also have heard about Panchakosh, and ever Panchakosh is the Chittatma, and over Chittatma is Atma, and then Paramatma, like this. So broadly, I just wanted to introduce my subject. So this is the subject, that what kind of program Yoga can provide to the executives, so that the executives can maintain good health, and at the same time, they can perform well. So the homework for you in this module is that you need to get this understanding. So please try and understand more through readings, this difference between the physical body, the subtle body consisting of our working of our senses, like my eyes we see, but how are my eyes doing the seeing operation? Where does the picture go? How does it gets monitored? Who is ultimately recognizing what is being seen, like this? So all this is in the subtle plane. We experience it on the basis of which we are doing everything, but physically we cannot see. So that's the difference, what is physical and what is subtle. So the working of the senses, the mind, the intellect, and the memory plane, and this person I, these are all called the subtle part of the subtle body. And I is the causal body also, that I is the one who creates the initial impulse to start action. And that's why it is called the causal body. So we will, in our sessions, discuss all this and on that basis, try to understand what kind of regime we can prescribe for executives so that they can maintain proper physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. We will discuss the health of the executives. Now, as I said, this physical health of the body is dependent also on food, water, and air. So the food we eat, what we eat, how much we eat, how we eat, when we eat, all these are very important in determining whether this food is helping to provide the basic raw material for the health of this body. And then from this food, the nutrition is extracted, and this nutrition goes through a secondary digestion. What is the secondary digestion? The nutrition that was extracted out of the food in the primary digestion, which takes place in the stomach for about 3 to 4 hours after we have finished our eating. And in that time, whatever is the nutrition there in the food, it is extracted, and the rest becomes through, as it passes through the intestines, the nutrition gets absorbed by the intestine. Nutrition is dissolved in water, and within 2 to 3 hours of our eating, normally we don't drink water with food. We take only few sips of water if we feel like sipping. Otherwise, if you have tari, as we have, these curries in our food, so that is there primarily to ensure that your eating process is very smooth and the proper digestion can take place. Nutrition can be freed in the stomach, where it is whipped, and all the proteins, the carbohydrates, whatever, they are all extracted. And then we drink water. So all this extraction comes in water, and in the intestines, it's brought into the bloodstream. Now in the bloodstream, as it is continuously flowing with the blood, this nutrition is in a constant processing. And in this processing, in the body, we need a lot of fire. So from this nutrition, it gets converted into blood. Then blood is processed, and in 5 days, it gets converted into flesh. Then flesh is in processing through again fire. Then it becomes fat. So our body is manufacturing fat. The fat that we eat is not the fat that we see deposited in the body. Body manufactures, uses that fat, but it is not necessary that the whole fat gets converted into fat. So, these days, this tendency of dieting and then trying to avoid chikanai and this, fat, which means ghee, butter, etc., milk, and so on, is really distorted. And I have seen it personally that this kind of understanding is actually harming our health. So this fat which body is manufacturing, it is manufacturing because body needs it. But problem is, now this fat needs to be processed and converted into bones. And we don't have sufficient fire in the body. So therefore, the first thing we need is good breathing. So I was coming to this point that we need good breathing, and executives do not have breathing. That's why I said desk bound. Because you are desk bound, you hardly breathe. And if your office is well, air conditioned and all, then you hardly have any, you don't get the basic necessity. And the basic necessity, deep breath. So I want to give you just one breathing. If you can, normally if I ask you take a deep breath, so you will do generally like this. Whenever I ask, even young children, when I ask them, take some few deep breaths, and they all will do. So this is a faulty breathing, that if you are taking long deep breaths like this, then your breathing is faulty, and that's why you have a lot of problems. The proper breathing is where abdominal movement is taking place forward and inward, forward and inward. When it is coming out, we breathe in. And when it is going in, we breathe out. Why? Because when we breathe in, the diaphragm moves up, it squeezes the lungs, and we breathe out. And when tummy comes out, diaphragm goes down, there is a space for lungs to balloon. And so lungs can take more and more air. Normally, when we are eating, breathing like this, raising the shoulder and chest, your tummy is going in. So it is not allowing your lungs to breathe. And so the breathing is only very superficial. And that's why it is said, these days, executives are breathing just about 20% or nothing more than 25%. And we need to bring this to at least 70, 80%. So when we start breathing like this, so I would like you to just breathe with me, say about 20 times this forced breathing. So use some force and try if you can make this coordination of the abdominal movement, that as you breathe out, it should go in, and as you breathe in, it should come out. So let's start. You can see my shoulders are not moving, my chest is not moving, and only movement is in the abdominal area. So this is forced breathing, and that's why there is noise in the breathing. And if you are doing this breathing for the first time, you will start feeling dizzy in just 15, 20 breaths. Why? Because as soon as this breath came in, through the lungs, it went into the bloodstream, it reached the heart, heart is pumping, and as soon as I start this unusual breathing, heart starts pumping blood in the body just to find out why this breathing has come. It used to be normal breathing. Why this unusual breathing? So just through breathing, we start a process in the body where the brain and the heart are in alert, high alert state. And all organs are asked to become active, to pump, whatever their respective work is. And very soon, you will come back to a very relaxed state. So as soon as we feel little uncomfortable, we are not interested in breathing more. So what we do, like this long deep breaths, and for half a minute or as much time as you need just for your forehead to return to a calm, quiet state. In fact, you will feel very relaxed after this. So this cycle of forced breathing and interrupted by a easy breathing, long deep breaths without force, without using body force for breathing. It's a natural breathing. So the natural breathing brings the heart, the brain to rest, and the rest of the organs also go to rest. And if we do few rounds of this, then every time we brought all our organs in alert state, in high, performing state, and then we brought them back to their natural state. So this is what executives need. So you don't need the physical running, jogging, other exercises and all. The main thing you need is this breathe. And the second thing, of course, you do need is posture. So if you are fixed in a posture, if constantly you are doing in a fixed posture, then your muscles tend to get locked. And therefore, you need to ensure that from time to time in intervals, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, in 2 hours, actually, you should take a little walk, 2 minutes walk, 5 minutes walk, whatever, depends on your schedule and your work. And if it is already there in your work, then you don't need to do that. The main thing is, yes, you need to do a little bit of body movement so that there is some blood circulation, there is some breathing all over the body. And this deep breathing while you are sitting, that you can perform anytime. Just, 2-3 long deep breaths like this, and it will awaken you, it will freshen you up like that. So this is it. So this is actually, in my opinion, when you are on your job, that time, this is what you need. And of course, in the morning and in the evening, the regular yoga program, which you are being given in other sessions, you will follow those. So here the homework for you is work on your breath and see and find out what is abdominal breathing, why it is so important. See a newborn baby and find out, is the newborn baby breathing only through the abdominal movement, or is it happening from chest or the shoulders? So this is one that you should. And then secondly, if you do any little bit of work, for example, if you just climb the stairs, and if you can climb, say, 50 stairs at a go without stopping, then you see how the breathing is going. So that time you will see that even the chest is moving, the shoulders are moving, and tummy, of course, is in action. So that is for heavy work. When we need more physical work, that time we need that much more breath. So breath and posture, these are critical factors in good health. So thank you very much. We'll see you in third.